Shalom, back again with another lesson. Before I begin this lesson, I'd first like to begin by giving all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash. I'm going to give double honors to my elders and apostles who rule well, who taught me this truth. I want to say peace and salutations to you, Akim, you brothers out there laboring, pushing this word out in all truth and in sincerity, presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice. I want to say shalom to your Israelite sisters that may be listening, and I also want to say shalom to Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, meaning you may look like these other nations, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the chosen seed line. All right, so shalom to you. So what inspired me to do this lesson today is after seeing a lot of brothers doing lessons on Esau's kingdom being divided, and you know what the scriptures say, if a house be divided, it cannot stand, roughly paraphrasing. So we're going to get into it, right? So I'm going to read in the book of Daniel, but before I turn there, I just want to say the Daniel, the 12th chapter, is a very prophetic book. Daniel in total is a prophetic book, but Daniel chapter 12 describes the end times, which is a period of great distress. You got the Jacob's trouble, you got the hour of temptation, you got all these events that are prophesied to happen, right? It's going to get so bad that the archangel Michael is going to have to stand up for the elect, for the Israelites, right? The elect of Israel. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump straight into the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and I'm going to start from the top, right? So it reads, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people." Now, the children of thy people are the Israelites, right? And it says, and he's only going to be standing up for the elect of Israel, as I previously mentioned. It's not all Israelites, because some Israelites, make up the 2/3, man. They don't want to listen, they don't want to accept it, they just want to be niggas in the world, right? So that's, the Lord ain't coming for them, man. The Lord ain't, they're already finished, right? They're through, right? And as we keep reading, it says, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time." So there's going to be a time of trouble. That trouble, as I mentioned also, is the time of Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. All these troubles are getting ready to pop off. And it says, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. So if you think about all the atrocities and things that negative that's happened in the world, like in history, the time of Jacob's trouble and the hour of temptation is going to be worse than that. Now, you can, whatever you may know about history, when you look at oppression and all kinds of stuff, like whatever your thoughts are on that, just know that the Lord ain't playing. The Lord's gonna make it worse. The Lord's gonna have it to where it's worse, right? So that's why, we rely heavily on seeking the Lord, because it's only gonna be the Lord that can protect us in those times, right? And as we keep reading, it says, "And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book," right? So 2/3 ain't gonna be found written in the book because they don't believe. They ain't fearful. They don't fear the Most High, right? They don't consider Yahweh Shai and the sacrifice that Yahweh Shai made for his people. You know, they don't believe in none of that. I bet. That's on you, right? So I'm gonna jump down to verse 9 because the point that I wanted to make is in verse 9. So I'm gonna jump down. Uh, right. So this is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 9. Right now, Daniel's asked the angel, a question related to um, the topics of the things that the angels revealed to him, right? And the angel responds by saying, "And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end," right? Because Daniel's, he's inquiring about, when these things are going to happen. But obviously, in those times, it wasn't meant for that prophecy to come to pass. So they sealed the book. So because there wasn't time, right? It's like, to give you an example, it'd be like watching a movie and then jumping straight to the end. You know what I mean? And everything's just chaos, right? But part of the movie that was taken out or closed up, when you watch a movie, there's a gradual build up. So events have to take place in order for the end to make sense, right? Because the start of the movie is like, okay, I start to see the build up, but then if it jumps all the way to the end, you're gonna be like, well, what happened? How did it get to this point? You know, certain things, are not revealed when you're watching a movie. It's not revealed in the beginning. It's revealed as time goes on, and then at the end, it makes sense, right? So I'm gonna keep reading. So it says, and he said, "Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end." Right? And as we keep reading, it says, many shall be purified and made white, and tried, like the wise. Many shall be purified and made white, and tried. You know, we're tried in the furnace of adversity, right? So we're going to go through trouble, right? But the wise will understand. Like, we need to seek the Lord. The Lord is the key. We cannot make it to the Father without Yahweh Shai. So we need to worship Yahweh Shai, and we need to, have faith and trust that the Lord's going to protect us. We need to stay in these scriptures, right? It's important, right? What does it say? It says, many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. But the wise, see that? The wise shall understand, right? And the wise are the ones that are seeking after the Lord right now, right? So, Lord willing, we'll be of that number. To those I'm speaking to those that are keeping the commandments to the best of your ability, seeking after the Lord, doing the works, having faith, all of that, which is necessary, right? But then you got the wicked that don't understand. It says, none of the wicked shall understand, right? And none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. You see that? But what's the wicked going to do? The wicked shall do wickedly. They're not going to change, right? And that's why the Lord's got to destroy it, man. 2/3 of our people are set to be destroyed, right? But remember, when you read these scriptures, it says, seal the book until the time of the end, right? So I'll go back a verse. So this Daniel 12:9. It says, and he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. See that? Time of the end. Right? I'm going to jump over now to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. I'm going to go straight to the point in verse 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. Right? So when you read the book of Daniel until the time of the end, the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Habakkuk says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. Got to wait for that appointed time. It wasn't time when Daniel was asking the question to the angel, right? So as we get closer to the end, then things will start to be revealed. And now as things are being revealed, that's how we understand that we're at the end, It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Right? It says, though it tarry, we're just going to look up this word tarry, right? So the word tarry, it means to tarry, tarried, stay longer than intended, delay leaving a place. Similar words is to linger, to loiter, to procrastinate, pause, delay, wait, lag. I mean, you get the idea, right? So when you look at it, it says, though it tarry, though it's delaying, though it's taking a long time, though it's waiting, because you have a lot of Israelites, like some of these 2/3, like, oh, you keep saying it's going to happen, but it never happens. So, all right, well, though it tarry, though it's taking a long time, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. It's not going to delay. It's going to keep coming, right? So this is why we say, hey, just because it ain't happened when you want it to happen, don't mean it ain't going to happen, right? A lot of people argue that fact and say, oh, you keep saying. So, all right, watch. So, like, what else can we tell you? Just like, watch, right? So, how do we know? Because it says in the scriptures that the when it comes to the time of the end, there's going to be a rulership in place, right? When you read the book of Daniel, chapter 2, it goes into the kingdoms, right? Nebuchadnezzar had the dream about the statue. You got the Daniel breaking that down and explaining to Nebuchadnezzar the different meanings behind the statue, and you get the feet, which is iron mixed with miry clay. That's the Renaissance period, the rebirth period, right, of the Roman Empire. Because if you remember, it fell, and then now we have the society today, which is obviously in like manner to Rome. We're in the new Roman Empire, basically, right? Now, America being the virgin daughter of Babylon, right? Now, who's in the rulership seat? We're going to jump over to Job chapter 9, verse 24, right? Because it tells you, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? It says, he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Now, who's the ultimate judge, right? The ultimate judge is Yahweh Shai, who the world knows as JC. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to, right? But JC, everyone knows him as JC, and we refer to him as his true Hebrew name, which is Yahweh Shai, right? So Yahweh Shai, they changed the face of Yahweh Shai. And what did they change it from? When you read in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, I believe it's 14 on down, 13, 14 on down, around that area, it gives you a description of Yahweh Shai. Even in the book of Daniel, it gives you a description of Yahweh Shai and the Most High, right? The Ancient of Days, right? And you can read that in the book of Daniel. So if you haven't read it, it's wise that you do, right? Because it's a prophetic book. Now, when you're looking at the image, it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, right? The ultimate judge was Yahweh Shai, and they changed his image to fit their image, right? And you can read that history from the Borgias, right? Cesare Borgia, right? The son of Pope Alexander the Sixth of Rome, right? Rodrigo Borgia, right? You can look up that history, and you can find out all about it. The Pope had the power to exalt his son as the savior, even though his son was a freak, right? Now, again, some people would argue, well, that doesn't mean that it's talking about these people. It's like, well, okay, let's see what it says. Remember, in the scriptures, it's saying that in the book of Daniel, seal the book until the time of the end. Then we read Habakkuk saying that where it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, right? Now the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, he covereth the faces of the judges thereof, right? So who's the one that changed the face, towards the end? So we're going to turn to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 9. It says, for Esau, there's his name, for Esau is the end of the world. So the Edomites will be in rulership at the end of the world. And who's running the country right now? The Edomites, right? Now it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So once Esau is taken out of power, Jacob comes into power straight after. There isn't going to be a transitional period like, the Edomites are going down, so Russia's going to hold the crown for a bit, or China's going to hold the crown for a bit. No, it's going to go straight from Esau to Jacob. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So the Israelites are going to be the ones in power, right? We're under Yahweh Shai, right? And 144,000, right? And Yahweh Shai is going to be the one to take them out of power. And it says that in the book of Isaiah, chapter 63, verse 1. It says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I, that speak in righteousness, mighty to save, right? That's going to be Yahushai. That's talking about Yahushai taking out the Edomites, right? So, I mean, we understand who the Edomites are, man. It's the so-called white man, right? And I'm not saying that every white person is an Edomite, but what I am saying is the nation of Esau, Edom, a majority of that nation are so-called white people, right? So, again, there was a scripture. The point of this lesson, right, was to talk about the house divided. So I'm going to read in the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 25, and it says, and this is red letter, right? It says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. You see it there in red letters. That's Yahushua speaking, right? And keep reading. And it says, and if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end, right? We read in 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? So if Satan rise up against Satan, if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end. So I'm going to just play a few clips, nothing too heavy, but I'm going to play a few clips on TikTok, just showing you how divided America, aka Babylon, is, and how the world is divided, right? So it's not just America, it's the world. Now, the clips that I'm going to play are not recent clips. Some of them may be, but a majority of them are within, I'd say, the last year or two, right? The last year or so. But definitely, actually, it'll be probably this year. But anyway, I'll play the clips so you can see what I mean. But this is a protest, an anti-Trump protest, right? So I'm just going to show you how divided this country, America is, right? So yeah, it's pretty divided. It's pretty divided, and there's more. So as I flip to the next clip, you'll see, man, it just keeps going and going and going.
You're complicit in a genocide! You're complicit in a genocide!
It is an honor to
hear. All right. It's complicit in genocide. Hang on just a second. You have an obligation to the Constitution of the United States. Off to jail. Disabled veterans.
No. There's a genocide! There's a genocide!
You are all complicit in genocide.
Man, we're not allowed to film in here. You're complicit in a genocide! You're complicit in a genocide! Eddie, there's a genocide! Eddie, there's a genocide! Come on, Eddie. There's a genocide! You are complicit in genocide of the Palestinian people! You are complicit! Come on, Eddie! Eddie, help us! Eddie, help us save them! Come on, Eddie! The Israeli terrorists are committing a genocide, and the U.S. Congress and Senate are complicit in funding the bombs that are forcing children to be slaughtered and massacred. Shame on this government. The United States of America is complicit in genocide. The Israeli terrorists are starving children.
If they'll arrest veterans, they'll arrest you.
Stop the bombs! Stop the bombs!
Arresting us.
And as you can see, like, there's just more and more and more.
America's pissed off, people. This is Waterfront Park at the county building in San Diego, California. We are here to protest Donald Trump, his administration.
Now this is a house divided, This is a house divided. right? And this is in America, right? I think I got maybe an extra clip of somewhere in America, but it's not only in America that you're seeing uproars of the people. You're seeing it all across the world, right? So the next clip I'm going to play is in Australia.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Thousands gathered in cities across the country calling for an end to mass immigration. Anti-immigration protesters and a pro-Palestinian rally clashed on Melbourne's Bourke Street. Organisers of the March for Australia rallies had denied connections to white supremacists and neo-Nazis in the lead-up to the event. But in Melbourne, prominent neo-Nazi Thomas Sowell was a keynote speaker.
If we do not stop immigration, then our death is certain.
Fake news, ABC! Fake news, ABC! Eroding our democracy!
In Brisbane, crowds gathered in the city centre with a range of flags, as well as anti-media and anti-government chants.
We all share one common cause here. We want to stop close the gates and stop immigration. We want to stop mass immigration. We want to stop your country from being stolen from you.
In Sydney, New South Wales police say the protests
You know, and that's rich coming from these people, right? Because a lot of them stole the country anyway, right? But, you know, like they're all saying the same thing. They're all like, you got the house divided. You got the Edomites, what I perceive to be Edomites, right? You know, they got the there could be Jake there, right? 2/3, you know, whatever. But what I perceive is that these Edomites, right, is that, you know, they don't want people coming into their country. But then you have the opposite side that, like, no, we're a welcoming country. Do you know what I mean? Like, the house is divided, right? Your politicians are divided. You know, you got your Trump supporters, Republicans, and then you got your Democrats, you know, and they're just warring with each other. Then you got the people, the far right and the far left movement, and they're warring with each other. And it's just, you know, just everywhere you look, right? And there's more. I won't play the rest of this clip because it's quite long, but you know, as you continue on, not only do you see it in Australia, this is another protest in America, but you'll see it in the UK as well. Same thing. Mass migration. Right?
But also counter-protesters gathering in the...
So again, they don't want saying what I perceive to be Edomites, right? They don't want immigrants coming to their country, stealing all their jobs, right? But again, they're doing the same thing. They're using a flag, and then you got the police separating the counter-protests. It's house divided by house, and what I perceive to be there is a lot of Edomites, right? The ones just like Australia. You got the ones carrying their flag, Australians carrying their flag. They're all, you know what I mean? Like, they're all being led to that hatred towards each other, right? That anger is building up. It's boiling over, right? And again, more, and here's the counter protest. So these would be for immigration, right? These ones would be with immigration. However, these ones would be against it. You see how they have to be separated, right? So these protests just show you how divided Babylon is, right? Babylon. So you got the UK, you got America. This is the side of the for immigration, and the other side is against, right? House divided. You come here. I don't know if this is a football march or a protest, but what I perceive this to be, because it says it in the description. But the same protest, like, which is here, the same people, the people of Germany have had enough and are demanding that the migrants get sent home, right? So, and they're carrying the same banner, as you can see. They're carrying the same banner. So I can't tell if this is a football hooligan, you know, march, or if it's actually, you know, the far right or far left, whatever you call them, protesting migration. But as you can see, there's division. The house is divided, man, you know, and we'll keep going. This is in Poland. Same thing. Stop Islamization. I don't even know if that's a word, but in Poland, right? So they don't want the Islamists taking over Poland, right? So again, house divided. They look like they're ready for a fight. Look, jacked up, ready to throw some hands, right? Again, Poland says no. Poland united as 80 cities protest immigration, right? So this is the state of the world right now. House divided, right? And then once it all kicks off, it's going to be go time from there, right? So I'm going to read a couple more scriptures. I'm going to close out there. I just wanted to sort of bring light to that and just read a few scriptures because it was on my spirit to do so. But this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, or Second Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16. And it says, "For there shall be sedition among men," right? Sedition, right? Uprising. All right, in fact, let's have a look at the term, right? Sedition. Sedition. Conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch, right? So this is what we're witnessing here, sedition. All these protests and marches and, you know what I mean? Sedition among men, right? It says, "For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another." So when it kicks off, that's when it's go time, man, that time of trouble, right? It says, "And invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes." So that authority, that's out the window. They don't care about the authority, right? It says, "They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power," right? So it's going to be like, hey, you can't go to this city because it's a no-go zone, right? You can't go there, right? It's a no-go zone. Or you can't go up north because, you know, we're not welcome there. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be conversations like that, you know? Certain areas you can't pass, right? So as we keep reading, verse 17, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able," right? It's going to be chaos everywhere. Probably wouldn't want to be in a city if it all kicked off because, I mean, it'd be like trying to fight. It'd be like the Warriors. You'd be trying to fight your way out back to Coney Island. You know what I mean? Like, have all kinds of freaks trying to beat you up and rob what you got, man. Probably kill you. You know what I mean? In Jacob's Trouble, you're gonna have to navigate through stuff like that. You know what I mean? We keep reading. Verse 18 says, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." Right? Men are going to be afraid in that time, right? You can only imagine what it's going to be like for a woman in that time. A woman's going to be, you know, they're going to be the easiest targets, right? That's why it's imperative that you get, you know, you women out there, you stay with the man you chose. Choose the right man, right? Stay with the man that you're with if you've got a man. If not, then you need to seek a man of the Lord because the men of the Lord are going to be protected in these times, right? I'm going to just quickly back that up in the book of Isaiah, right? Because now remember, 2/3 ain't getting this special treatment because it will be special for the elect, right? And it says, let me just see. Matter of fact, let me go up a verse. So this is Isaiah chapter 65, verse 12. It says, "Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, ye did not answer. When I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not." Right? So you didn't listen to the Lord. You didn't listen to the men of the Lord trying to warn you. Men of the Lord have been set up as watchmen for the house of Israel. We've been telling you, look, the Lord is coming back. He's angry. He ain't happy with the way things are here. So you need to fix up or you know, the Lord gonna give you that whooping. Right? That's how we're going. But as we continue reading in verse 13, it says, "Therefore, thus saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua power, says, Behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry." So when them food stores get burned down and looted, I think it happened a few years ago in Africa. It was like an uprising or something, and they burned all the supermarkets. I think it might have been in Swaziland or somewhere in Africa. I think it's South Africa somewhere. I'm not entirely sure, but they were burning down the food stores, right? Now, if the food stores are burned down, how are you going to restock that? You can't. You have to rebuild the whole building. That ain't going to be overnight. So ain't going to be no food in your area, right? But it says, behold, my servant shall eat. So the Lord's going to provide for his servants. He's going to provide for his men. It says, but ye that do wickedly, you know, the ones that do wickedness, right? It says, but ye shall be hungry. It says, behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. It says, behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed, right? Servants rejoicing is, hey, we know what's coming. We know what comes next. And you're going to be ashamed because when you start to realize that the Israelites were right, all that scoffing is going to be like, damn, I should have, you know what I mean? I should have listened. And it says, behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And your spirit's going to be troubled, man. You're going to be troubled. You get it? It's crazy, man. But yeah, it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Right? As we keep reading, it says, look, this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 19. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So the lack of food, you know what I mean? You're not going to have any food because it's going to be, you know, dog eat dog in those days, you know? Whoever's got the biggest teeth is going to eat, you know? And for, you know, for the women out there that are proud, that you can't tell them anything, they don't listen to instruction, you know, good luck, you know, because the men of the Lord, you know, we want a soft, delicate woman. We don't want no loudmouth that can't listen to instruction. You know, man says, don't go down that block, man. You know, there's a horde of, you know, crazy thugs. And the woman's like, you can't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? It's going to be, it's not going to work, man. Men of the Lord are going to choose right in those days. They ain't going to be choosing no loudmouth. They're going to choose a humble woman, right? So, you know, to you women out there, you know, this is just a heads up. Like, look, if you got a husband and you know, he's, hey, stick with that man. He's a man of the Lord, right? Even if you got a husband and he ain't in the truth, then you know you made your choice, and just pray that the Lord delivers you, right? But because you have to stay with your man, you know what I mean. Once you marry, lay down with a man and you get married, well, because when you lay down with a woman, married, that's marriage, right? So when you're with a man, you gotta stay with him, man. He could be a complete bug out, but you know that's who you chose, right? But you know that's another topic anyway. I'm gonna read one last scripture and I'm gonna close it out there, right? So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 2, right? Because I think there was a clip I was gonna show. I don't think I have it here. But yeah, this just, you know, going back to this clip, you know, this is like the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. The people are mourning, man. You got the people in Gaza mourning. You got the people that are struggling to pay their rent, you know, for food, shopping, and you know, a roof over their head, and you know, all that stuff, man. People are in mourning because the wicked are in authority. But when the wicked beareth rule, it's these Edomites, you know, they're the culprits. But once they're taken out, Yahushua comes and takes them out, right? And then it says, when righteousness are in authority, the people rejoice. The people are going to be rejoicing when Yahushua is back, right? So I pray that this lesson was edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shem and Shah. I'm going to leave it there. And, you know, like I say, you got to seek the Lord. I'm going to keep repeating myself until the Lord takes us off the airwaves, right? Lord willing, I'll be of that number. And Lord, you know, gives us that mark of exemption, you know. Hey, I'm going to keep pushing this word out. So again, like I said, I pray that this was edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And with that, we're going to leave it there. Let's say, Kol Lo Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rachak Kodash. Shalom. On to the next.